The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, someone's still gonna win, and it might be if just
I know
half the field, just about half the field is playing badly. With golf, you can easily say, "Oh, the course must be hard. They're all playing bad." You know what I mean? It all kind of comes back to earth a little bit.
Sergio has been like, I can't wait to leave this place.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I really dig our intro music. I think that shit's fire, dude. And you're on mute. So welcome to Divots and Pivots tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a little bit of a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. I will say full mea culpa, Boudreaux on that one. But thanks for joining us, whether it's 9 p.m. Tuesday night or whenever you're listening to this. Andrew, how are you doing? You are in a remote location, my friend.
Yeah, I am in Brooklyn, New York, but in like the Coney Island area of Brooklyn, which is absolutely like worthless this time of year because everything's closed. I walked around for like 2 hours last night. Get this, I couldn't even find a bar or restaurant that was open other than like a pizza joint. And like I wanted to do something. I ended up just ordering a pizza and coming back to my room because I got so annoyed. Which was fine in the end. But I would try to go to one bar and it was closed, even though it said it was open. So then I did like a Google Map search on foot. And decided to head to this place called Beerland. I was like, okay, cool, safe. There's going to be beer there. Yeah, okay. What it really was, because this is New York and you never know what you're going to get. What it really was like this like very small convenience store with like an Eastern European gentleman who just moved here from wherever he came from, barely spoke any English, serving beer out of nitro taps on the wall in unmarked plastic 1 liter bottles with the option of, do you want it here or to go? And even if you had it there, you still had to pour it out into your own plastic cup. So I did that. I had one there, and then I was the only one sitting in there, and I felt, well, this is weird. I'm going to take the rest of my beer to go, and I proceeded to walk through Brooklyn at night in the dark with a half-empty 1 liter plastic bottle of beer as if I was getting ready to go sleep under the overpass.
There's so many things we could go with that. First of all, I too was ripped off by Beer Magazine one time. I subscribed to Beer Magazine like 10 years ago. Never got an issue. 1995, I never saw. I love it. Beerland. This immigrant knows exactly how to get business in America. Yeah. Beerland. I mean, I
was expecting like a craft bar, some sort of brewery, and of course, there's like a nice Coney Island brewery is like 2 blocks from where I'm staying, closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
It's the shittiest time of year to be outside anywhere. Speaking of, did you hear about the lady who died in Boston Friday night? R.I.P.
I did not hear it. Well, no, what happened?
40. So first of all, I was in Boston. I schlepped down from Witch City into Boston to the New England Aquarium. My roommate's company was having a function there, and it was phenomenal. It was great. We had the whole place to ourselves. Never been there before. The Penguins were hanging out with us. I felt bad for the Penguins at first because we had a DJ, and I mean things were pumping. But the zoo people apparently reassured us that they will fall asleep pretty soon because it's mating season. So they were apparently really active all day. I'm like, well, shit, we missed the show, but we were
dancing to the music.
I was waiting for Happy Feet. Had I actually followed through and done drugs beforehand, I probably would have seen some Happy Feet. But instead, I just stood there patiently and watched them. They were fun, but it was colder than squat, dude. I mean, the wind chill was 30 some odd below, and yeah, apparently a woman tried to walk home from a bar in the North End and didn't make it. They found her like 500 yards from her bar, 47 years old, just out cold, which makes me like my wife, who is an absolute superhero. She's a Mainer, which they have different blood to begin with. Like they're just a different kind of species. Yeah. And she decided that she was going to kick off her heels at 2 a.m. and walk from our Uber to the car, which was all of like 200 yards. But Florida boy over here, I couldn't breathe. I've been like legit. I looked at her and I blew her a kiss, or at least that's what I thought I did. But apparently I just made some sort of spastic gesture and then I ran for the parking garage. I had full faith that she was going to make it. Yeah, it was cold Friday night, but we're not here to talk about the weather. We're here to talk about waste management because it is not cold in Scottsdale, Arizona.
No,
I wish I was
not.
there. I got buddies who are out there right now. I'm uber FOMOing on the IG right now. And it's a big week. We got TPC Scottsdale and the waste management, which I love how the PGA
Everybody
Tour
loves this one.
well, not just this tournament, and we'll talk about it, but how it leads right into the Super Bowl. They've been able to kind of seamlessly do this thing. Last weekend with the Saturday finish, and then the full Sunday of championship games, and then we got the waste management into the Super Bowl. First elevated event since the first one, the Sonia or the Century, which that was a limited field. So this is our first big $20 million event for the PGA Tour since making all these changes. And not only that, we've got full swing coming out next week. I mean, the Netflix series drops, and if you haven't been watching the trailers, I mean, just get ready for Real Housewives. That's all it is. I mean, all we're doing is changing the industry and how they make money, right? Instead of a bunch of either spouses of hedge fund people and movie producers, now we're just talking about, the golfers. And I can't freaking wait for it. I think I upset some people on the Twitter sphere, except it was on Instagram. It was an Instagram comment. Cam Smith. Can we shit on Liv for just a hot minute before I get excited about it? Because I am pumped for Liv.
But I wasn't even trying to shit on Liv earlier, and I still upset somebody.
That's because you know why? Because people are stuck in what Greg Gutfeld is the writer. He used to be at Maxim. He's at Fox News now, but he used to be at like Maxim Men's Health. He used to do a show called Red Eye at like 3 a.m. where he would just bring on these crazy people. He's a super fascinating guy, very controversial in certain arenas for whatever reason, but he's credited in my world with this thing called the prison of two ideas, where we're trapped. And I used to say, this is kind of like Adam Carolla beat me to the punch with his latest book, Everything Reminds Me of Something. Like, what a great book. Who the hell was I just talking about? Oh, Greg Gutfeld. He beat me to the punch in his whole idea of, oh, are you dying?
Was I not muted there?
No, you were good.
Okay.
He beat me to the punch in this whole idea of the prison of the prison of two thoughts, or the prison of two ideas. Yeah. I say the world's not binary. Computer code's binary. The rest of the world's not binary. Nothing's binary. There's gray area. There's nuance. And so with Liv comes nuance, and we still live in a world where people, pun intended, like to not, and they just like to jump on you for no reason. So, and because I love the guy who I upset originally, I'm going to assume it was a guy, judging by their spelling. But the person I upset who came after me was like, listen, your point is well stated and thought out and kind. However, and I was like, what do you mean, however? It's just, it's fucking social media. I just put it. So what I said was Cam Smith released his statement. He got up to number 2 in the world, and, the way things are trending, everybody's talking about how like DJ's dropping out of the top 50 and Bryce is topping out. We know that those have asterisks because we're not idiots. People in the golf world.
We still know their quality of golfer they are.
Nothing's right. I still don't think
that you understand how good they are.
I don't think there's 100 humans better than Dustin Johnson at golf. Period.
And here's the bottom line too, and here's the part where maybe the world golf rankings are to an extent becoming obsolete, and not with the no. And this is where I want to draw the line. Not in the way that it affects the players and their bonuses or their pay or their exemptions, whatever. Like it's not obsolete there, but. Do you think the average golf fan ever looks at the world golf rankings like they look at baseball standings, football standings, or the NCAA rankings or anything like that? I don't think anybody really goes to PGA.com or whatever and looks up the world golf rankings to get an idea of who's going to play well this week or who's playing well at all right now.
There's several things that piss me off about this. A, the word obsolete. You can't be a little obsolete. You can't be a little.
Fair enough.
You're either. So that's actually. I didn't know. Did you see the comment that I was talking? Oh yeah, the comment I was talking about. The guy who I said Cam Smith sounds like sour grapes, dude. You made a decision, and you said that earlier. Like, you know what? You proactively made a decision. You knew the consequences. You did it. and you're still reaping the benefits. So I'm like, you got paid, brother. Like, boo-hoo, sour grapes, go away. Like,
Yeah.
on that regard, I still think he's going to win a major this year.
Yeah, I don't see how
and Abraham Answer already won a DP World Tour event. So we're already where we were a week ago when I said some live guy is going to win this. And that's going to be a fascinating development to see how this whole DP Eurasia Tour turns up, and all of a sudden maybe they don't have to adjust the world golf ranking, because it's like, listen, live guys, you're only playing 10 weeks over here anyways. You want to fill the other 20 to 30 over here and get your points, and then maybe some of the majors, go for it. So they might have shot themselves in the foot there by already.
That's a very good point.
But I do agree that this has meant that the official world golf ranking needs to be rejiggered. It's only 30 years old. So when people are like, this is what I mean by the binary world, it's not obsolete. You still want to rank the golfers. You just want to change the formula. That's fine. I'm so sick of hyperbolic language and people going to polar extremes to get a fucking click. So what I said was like, two things can be true. Cam Smith, sour grapes, 125 million in the bank. And you thought that like everything was just going to come with you. That's a little bit selfish of these players too, to not show the only reason you're in the position you're in is because of the PGA Tour in the first place. Like, that was your platform. So go F yourself if you don't think that they're going to be pissed off at you for leaving. And also, like we've said before, you don't get to bring that shine with you. That wasn't your shine. You're the talent. You're not the theater. You're not the production. You are the talent, and you're really freaking good at it. And you were almost ranked number one. And by the way, you're 26. You might be ranked number one at some point. But in that moment, with as much money as falling out of your mullet, I don't give a shit that I almost got to number one, but these unfair rules. No, it's not the unfair rules. You made a choice. Frickin' live with it and come back later. So these people going, but Tiger and Rahm think that there needs to be change. Yeah, change.
Yeah.
Even if they use the word like not obsolete,
not deletion, we need to know not getting rid of. It's just you adjust, like you said, and and you speak of hyperbole and the language people use going to extremes. Did you read the comment that I got back on my simple?
No, but I saw that you put something similar out there.
I saw you liked it. I saw you liked it, but I got a comment back. Just listen to the language that's used in this, because this language is. I actually laughed because it's so far-fetched language.
Good. Shitting on social media with Andrew and Bud. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the full tweet here, or the full reply here. It says they're the target of a hostile cult that's fearing its own relevance, concealing their dishonorable treatment of players, and Billy Horseshit milking the media exposure to advance himself. No justification for the hate expressed by the media, PGA, and fellow golfers' despicable behavior.
Who are these people?
And I read that, and I swear to God, my only comment back was, "Okay, guy, you must watch a lot of entertainment television network."
Son,
what are you doing,
son?
That is
it's a matter
for the situation.
By the way, folks, COVID's over. We're allowed to disagree about. Pardon me. COVID's not over, whatever. But we're allowed to disagree again. We're no longer all riding the same. Right. We're back out in the Wild West. The gloves are off. To be living in a space. I mean, to use those kind of words. Well, but I mean, look at culture right now. I mean, we do live in a society where now, and it's because we created this monster, clickbait. We all want clickbait. Yes, so nobody wants to see, mediocre 7-iron feathered into 35 feet. You want to hear like, Tiger makes hole in one, and then you click on it and it's like almost makes hole in one. I mean, so we have created this. So the pendulum, I've talked about pendulums a lot in my life, big pendulum guy. Because back when I was growing up at my mom used to work at the Smithsonian, and I used to go to the American History Museum, and they used to have this giant pendulum in the lobby that just swung back and forth. You remember from like 7th grade trips. So I used to just stare at that. So the pendulum is swinging back though.
Yes.
And we don't need to deal with this anymore. Like I really did. I gave one person a yawn. Like I think I gave the one guy a yawn.
I love that response even better. That's great.
Yeah. And then, I mean, he was like, whatever, dude. And then somebody comes over the top and I'm like, obsolete. Maybe you don't know what that word means. And they gave me a literal definition. And so I was like, all right, but here's the problem.
I do love when people pull out Webster's.
But the definition doesn't hold water. Anyway, this is fucking awful. I can't believe we've been talking about this long. That's what happens though when you let trolls get under your skin. So waste management.
Yeah, let's move on here.
It's a party. And I do not agree I am going to say curmudgeon-y. I'm a little feisty tonight. I'm going to ride this wave. I don't agree with the people, and this is going to be bad. Joe Rogan the other day was like, they should do this shit every week when he was getting educated a little bit about golf.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, which was a great episode, by the way. Go check it out. Whoever he had on who was kind of breaking it down, all I could think to myself was like, what he's saying, because we're wonks. We're on the inside. We are the people who look up the official world golf rankings. I do want to know how, which event in the world is going to carry the most weight. What kind of field do they have? Because it is going to need some tweaking. But to Joe's point, when he's like, every week should be like this and you'll get more people. We don't want everybody to tune in. If this is what it is every week, then we become live. And that's not that's not the product. It's just not. And having this be as big as it is, and the stadium around,
that much more special.
Of course it is.
I'm sorry, you're not gonna if you have every single week, if you have a 16th hole with the gallery and like the stadium set up and the cheering and the beer throwing and all that, if you have that every week, it's going to it loses its hype on every level each week. It just ruins it. The waste management created something. And here's the other thing. No one stopped the waste management from the Waste Management Phoenix Open. I'll call it by its full name. For years now, the PGA never stopped them from allowing this happening at the course or anything. Like, not all tournaments should do what they do, but there's things that tournaments could be proactive about in changing the vibe of what's going on at their event. They could get creative that still is accepted by the PGA to narrow the margin of between what the PGA is and what the live is, and why everyone wants something in between. Like, what's stopping all these individual tours each week from just trying to get creative and trying some sort of, not a format change, but some sort of like.
No, I don't think a format change at all, but I hear what you're saying, because I do think we're going to see some spillover. These tournaments already do a lot of, it's funny, depending on the tournament, you hear more or less about it, but they do have like big names who will come and do a concert Wednesday night after the Pro-Am, for the, that kind of stuff, or they have local. I think it's just stale. And I think we're going to see more shaking up tournament by tournament, and for folks to try to, so you got the Waste Management that does this, you've got your majors, obviously. And everything else kind of runs on tradition. And then down in New Orleans, we pair up in partners. So everything else is a little more traditional. I think you're going to start seeing these folks lean into their identity a little bit more, maybe try to cater the week to not you've got your, like, we're like a political base for a party. We're the 30% that's not going anywhere. Like, although the percentage of the population that gives a shit about golf is much smaller, but we're not going anywhere. And so, to draw in the others, I heard Dan Patrick, 18 minutes in, first Dan Patrick mentioned. I heard Dan Patrick talking the other day about his personal feelings on the Pro Bowl the other night. And he was just kind of saying, he goes, I, as a man over 50, hated it. He's like, but
makes sense.
He goes, but everybody under 40, that's who they were targeting. And that's probably some of the people that you got their attention. And that's just kind of what's going to happen. Super Bowl is not going to change. Rest of the season is not going to change. Pro Bowl is going to start changing. And that's what we're going to see in golf. Fuck yeah, it was awful. I enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. And I liked the little bit of rules differences. They try to take a knee on the last play and Peyton's running on the field. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
But to the Waste Management, I think it's cool. I think it's unique. On the 16th, if you don't know, Google it. They built a stadium around an 163-yard par 3, and it's amped. The people are loud. They're chanting people's names. There's groups that show up and do research on the players, and they'll like bring up ex-girlfriends from high school and like former hockey coaches and shit.
Well, the players even put on like sports jerseys for that hole before. Like, and who was it that hit the hole in one last? Was it last year? Someone hit the hole in 1 6, or the year before? Where
I can't remember, but the beer cans were just
because the only thing that stuck in my mind from that was just the crowd and the amount of beer that was thrown into the air and the celebration that happened when that happened. I just wish I could remember who it was.
I don't know, but Michelob Ultra was happy to donate that. Going even further back. But do you remember, because I doubt you were in the golf world as deep as I was. I remember when Tiger hit, I mean, you've seen the video now a million times. He hit his ace that first year on tour, his first Waste Management as a pro, I believe. And I remember looking back at that, because you look back and the stadium wasn't there. The crowds were there, and they might have had some risers in certain spots. But you see the shot coming back up from the green, and the bottles of water are flying. The beers are flying. And quick, fun little segue. Happy birthday, Mike Fluff Cowan. his caddy at the time, who was Jim Furyk's caddy. Then he went on to be Tiger's caddy. Then he went back to being Jim Furyk's caddy. Fluff might be, I put it out there on Instagram earlier at This Buds For You. He's Mount Rushmore of caddies. There's the guy who Jack would pick up every year at Augusta. I want to say his name was Willie Parker, and nobody wanted Jack Nicklaus. And because, quote, Jack was going to work you like a dog, and they knew that. And back then, these caddies, you don't get paid for every moment, but you're expected to be there every moment. World's a little bit different now, but Mike Fluff Cowan, Bones McKay is up there, or Mackay, whatever. And then I would say Fanny. If you don't know Nick Faldo's caddy from the 80s and 90s, check her out. She is another just staple in the golf world. So there's your Mount Rushmore of caddies in honor of Mike Fluff Cowan's birthday, who was on the bag for Tiger when he made the ace at the Waste Management Open.
And you eventually brought it all full circle to your original statement. So nice job. I'm proud of you. No, and real fast, because before we jump into, because I do want to get into the actual stats here for the picks and whatnot, and also a quick commercial break. Throw that in there. But speaking of clickbait, I don't know if you saw, but I think it was ESPN put out a story, and the title was major tournament partner pulls out a PGA, like first of many dominoes in the wake of Live Tour, something along those lines, whatever. So of course I clicked on it.
Who's trying to get ahead? Who's trying to get ahead over there? What was it?
No, they were talking about how this is the final year in the contract for WGC match play, which we've all known. Like, this isn't news.
Oh, I did see this. I did click on that because I read it and I'm like,
but it has nothing to do with it's not in direct connection with
the angle I think they're trying to take is the WGC when it was put in play was trying to just bring together the best players more than the majors. And what they're saying is, like, now you've got Live that's going to start, I guess, driving that more. I don't understand their logic there. I don't draw the connection between the two. But yeah, I saw that
between the two, and I clicked it. I read the first sentence and I went, "Oh, come on!" And I closed out of the article. I said, "Forget this."
All right, so let's. Is there anything else that needs to be mentioned before we get into? I mean, we really could go down some rabbit holes. So let's get through our fantasy so we can get back.
Well, yeah, real fast though. I do want to. We are going to take a quick commercial break here, because our upcoming newest partner for.
Hey now.
Our upcoming newest partner here, you can see the YouTube channel right here, Fantasy Sports Corp, where we announced last week we will be in the coming weeks here. Moving the airing of our Tuesday night show here to their YouTube channel, away from our Divots and Pivots YouTube channel. So keep an eye out for when that comes. Of course, we will announce it, but they have a big Super Bowl show coming up this week. So we are going to quickly hit you with that ad here from those guys, and we'll be right back after. Well, actually, you know what? We're probably going to be sitting here through it because it wasn't loaded. There's a real sexy fellow coming up here now. Oh, that was fun too. Oh, I swear they didn't put me in the graphic. Anyways.
Is that their live reaction at them realizing you just realized you weren't in the lineup, or does coach need to see you? Do you need to go to the coach's office with your playbook?
No, so I thought I was in the graphic because he had sent me the graphic, so I assumed I was, but I hadn't watched it yet because I am doing a special edition of Sophistication Station during that show where I am announcing the Fantasy Rookie of the Year for the Fantasy Sports Corp. So tune in for that and get Mr. Mallett's Sophistication Station Rookie of the Year award winner.
So once again, while I'm wearing my Mahler Bros Divots and Pivots second ball All-American shirt and my Piper golf hat, looking at my Fantasy National Golf stats on Belly Up's platform. What time is this show happening again?
Sorry, I just had it in front of me. Let me get that for you. It's Sunday morning. I want to say it's 8.
Damn. God, I forget it's the Super Bowl.
Yes, it's the Super Bowl, but
All right,
they usually they do their normal show on weekend mornings at 8. So I believe it's Sunday morning at 8. It's either 8 or 9, but I believe it's 8 o'clock.
All right, last bit of news that I thought needed mentioning. Augusta National Women's Amateur. It's coming up. It's the week before the Masters. I mean, the Masters. We're talking about the Masters. We're less than 30 days out from the Players. Full swing is out next week. We're back into elevated events, and it couldn't have come at a better time because, like I mentioned last week, and look what happened. Live, like there's going to be a world in the future with Live, and I think I do think I honestly, the way it's kind of shaping out, I wouldn't be shocked if DP World Tour just kind of said, hey, before this goes any further, Australia Eurasia Tour or whatever the Asian tour that they're with, y'all want to get together real quick and just hash something out? Because if I'm them, I'm looking around going, shit, we really do have that field was tough in Saudi. I mean, I can't believe there was none coverage. I get it. Your partners are your partners, and you're not going to necessarily shoot yourself in the foot if you don't have to, but that was a very strong field. Patrick Reed got out of there real quick. I guess he's in London testifying today in whatever lawsuits are going on. My legal sources tell me that basically what's going on here with this PGA asking for an extension in the discovery is just kind of normal legal gamesmanship. Like this is the kind of shit that happens where they're both like, and then another buddy of mine who's an attorney goes, honestly, it might be where they both have looked in their documents and they know for sure that there's some damning stuff in there. So they're just going to try to play kick the can and be coy. And hopefully the judge doesn't yell at either one of yell at them. You know what I mean? So yeah. I think it is just normal January. I think this will get settled out of court before that, because I think people are going to slow down and put their guns away and realize there's a lot of money to be made here. So that is piece one. Is that Live, there is a future with Live. Piece two is Augusta National Women's Amateur. They made a big announcement last year. It was cool for us to see. There was a 4-for-1 playoff for the 30th spot in the field. And if you're not familiar with the Augusta National Women's Amateur, it is an invitational for the women's amateur kind of golf arena. There wasn't one out there on this caliber before. And, there was always the USGA events that are open and not necessarily this invitational model like the men have for the Masters. And so they created the Augusta National Women's Amateur. We've had some top talent win in the last few years. They play 36 holes at nearby Champions Retreat, which is a golf course in place that was built, designed, and put together by Nicholas Palmer. And I want to say it was Nicholas Palmer and Player. And then the top 30 get to go to Augusta National to play the final round and get crowned a champion. Everybody gets to play a practice round on Friday, which is nice for them. But last year we watched a 4-for-1 playoff for that 30th spot. And this year they announced they're doing 30 in ties. So we could have 30, 35, 40, who knows? Depends on how the ladies are playing, but it's great golf. You get to see some early talent. And I got to say, it's humbling to watch these young ladies beat it around Augusta National better than we could ever imagine. That's it.
And no, I love I love that you brought that up, and bringing that up. There will be one other piece of news that we completely forgot to get to, is the results of our picks last week between the two of us.
Yeah, I didn't forget.
You were trying to skate over that, weren't you? You were trying to skate.
The hole's getting deeper. The hole's getting deeper, but they got plenty of time.
It's still very close. We're still very close. But to sum it up, I had a 5-for-6 lineup. Bud had a 4-for-6 lineup. I was back and forth between changing out my Andrew Putnam for your Seamus Power, which we talked about on the show. I ended up sticking with Putnam. If I had just made the switch to Power, I had a 6-for-6 and would have actually made some money. But the results of last week was I finished with 392.50 and Bud finished with 366. So a close week, bringing the yearly totals right now to me with 2,000 points and Bud with 1,946. So we are still very close.
I mean, we're a top 10. We're a couple of Eagles away.
Bottom line is we're having a pretty good year with our picks so far overall, though.
In this, and my updates from my other league, I'm not going to say that. I actually did okay in my other league this week with Seamus Power. Got me some. I'm climbing. I think there's 24, 25 of us in the league. Only top 16 go to the playoffs, and I've only missed it once. And I started the year out cold. And so I'm starting to climb out of the cellar. I'll give you some updates once we get around. I usually pick it up around Augusta. Brooksy, I had a good run with Brooksy when he finished runner-up a couple of years ago. Because I don't think anybody in that field picked Tiger. Nobody picked Tiger.
No, nobody picked Tiger.
And I keep saying we're going to get to the waste management because we're 29 minutes and 54 seconds into this
We're gonna
show.
get to it right now.
But one more piece of things to celebrate. Two more pieces of things to celebrate this week. Piece one is earlier this week was the anniversary of Alan Shepard hitting a golf ball on the moon. Fun fact: he smuggled he smuggled a 6-iron into his spacesuit. He actually had to negotiate with NASA because when they go,
is that a
everything's
banana or is that a 6-iron? Or are you just happy to see me?
But apparently he took 4 swings, 2 whiffs, a chunk, and then he connected on his 4th. And when he did the calculation, they estimate that it actually might have gone for over a mile. So, but when they said how did it feel or how does it look, and where did it go? He said miles and miles, which I thought that was pretty cool. And tomorrow is the anniversary of Jack Nicholson going nuts on somebody with a 4-iron. Look for me on Instagram tomorrow for the story on that. But before we do that, we're going to talk about TPC Scottsdale and the 7,260-yard par 71 layout. They're playing on Bermuda top to bottom. It's Tiff Dwarf. I know you love the different types of Bermuda. This is
this
Tiff.
was an interesting one. Tiff Dwarf.
This is Tiff Dwarf hybrid.
Was it created by Dwarf on Golf?
It was. God, that guy was good. You remember
that? One of those, dude, I had it on VHS, and I used to watch it all the time. I loved it. It was so funny.
It was so funny. Bring back decent humor. No, but this is a cool event. We talked about it before with the culture. The course is pretty. I mean, it's a TPC course, so it's not necessarily the easiest or the hardest that they play, but it's definitely a challenging professional course. These greens get fast out in the desert. They have quote unquote qualified for speedy, I guess, in certain realms in the last few years. So look for strokes gained putting to play a big factor this week, as well as strokes gained approach, because once again, this is just nothing but studs. We've got top to bottom firepower. Everybody's kind of hot right now. I have some value down in the 7 and the 6K range that I can't wait to talk about. But before we go any further, let's talk about our key 3. I already teased one of mine. Obviously, strokes gained putting. Welcome back. Strokes gained approach. Yep. You are my rock. And then opportunities gained. I think it's going to be important. Everybody, when you got 140, 150 person field, you can't just be the hottest hand. You have to be the hottest of the hottest of the hottest hand. And you got to do it for 2 or 3 days in a row. This isn't the kind of week where you can go where one good number is going to help you win. It's going to have to be 2 good numbers or 3 or 4 solid numbers. It's going to be in the teens, maybe 20s. Scotty Scheffler won it last year. Brooks Koepka has won it the year before. This is a tournament that gets some big names out there. So don't be shy about eating a little bit of chalk and just try to be creative further on down, because a name is going to win this. I don't think you're seeing anybody come out of nowhere to take this title.
Yeah. Nope, I agree, and it's funny because I I have opportunities gained on mine as well. And look, I'm riding my other 2 that I've been riding. Is what you said already: approach and putting. I've been riding the past couple of weeks. I've been doing above average with my picks the last few weeks, so I'm gonna ride those hot hands. And what I've also been doing the past few weeks is just swapping out, depending on what the course is like, kind of the proximity of approach shots and the makeup of the distance for par 4s has been my other ones, ranking out who does well on those certain distances. So I did that again this week. We're rocking par 4s 450 to 500 yards and approach shots between 150 and 175. And that has gotten me the rankings that I've come up with this week, which I'm feeling pretty good with, because you mentioned some value being there, and yeah, I think I'm looking at right now 3 guys under 8K in my top 10.
And again, I go back to this course is just a very traditional good. You have to your game just has to be solid. That's what we're getting at. Find some fairways, get yourself into position, and then if you're rolling it, you're gonna be there on the weekend. And you'd be proud of me. I didn't just go with my lazy 3 though. I did make one tweak on my putting. I did strokes gained putting just for TPC Scottsdale. I figured why not? It's a course that they're familiar with, and most of these names have played enough rounds to have some numbers on there. So I did go 1 layer deep. Don't at me. I'm still just a regular guy. But
yeah, we have a fairly a fair good amount of course history for a lot of these guys to go off of. So I like playing in the Scottsdale specific stats as well.
If my roommate would ever consider Scottsdale, I'd go out to Arizona. I think I couldn't do Florida again; it's too freaking humid. But I can handle that Arizona heat, and that kind of heat,
It's a
knowing that.
dry heat.
I used to think that was the dumbest shit in the world until I went out to I was slinging software for Pearson, and I had to go out to Barstow Community College. And if you've ever seen Fear
Okay.
and Loathing in Las Vegas, the opening line when he said, "I was just outside of Barstow when the drugs began to take hold." Hunter S.
Is that next to
Thompson.
University of Phoenix?
You know what? Actually, yeah, it's in the middle of the Gobi or whatever the hell desert that is out there. I don't think it's the Gobi, but it's the middle of this massive desert. And I went out there,
Yeah.
had some meetings, did my thing, and then that night, um, I waited until the sun went down before I drove like the 2 hours back to my hotel in LA, just because I wanted to make that drive at night. It's worth it if you're ever out there. The desert is beautiful, but I can handle that heat.
I've heard good things. I've never been out that way to experience that heat, or I've never been further west than let's see, Indiana. So eventually I'll
You're
get west.
West
I'll
Coast.
Oregon Trail this shit.
Oh, and the other fun thing, another piece of Boston trivia before we start talking 10K and above. Today's history, today in world history, this isn't sports, but this is more space stuff. Bruce McCandless, Boston guy, Boston native. He was born in Boston. He was part of the Apollo crew, Apollo 11. He was back at Mission Control doing the Capcom thing. He was the guy on the radio in the movies, Mission Control, this is a blah, 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 blah. So that was his job. And then in 1984, this psycho decided to become the first person to do a spacewalk untethered from anything. And so I saw I saw a clip of Gravity floating around social media. And then I started going down a rabbit hole about spacewalks, and I saw that, and I noticed that it was the anniversary. But that to me right there is the number one most terrifying thought in my life, is to be lost in space.
Sounds horrific.
Right behind getting a bad pick in the 10K range. I think I might spend some money this week. I might spend some money this week in 10K.
So you alluded to that this is a week that you can and it pay off, which I agree with. And the fact that there's value to make it work. I'm there with you. Let's spend some money. Let's go on a spree. Where are you spending your money this week?
If I have to, Xander Schauffele. Everybody top to bottom. John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler's defending. Tony Finau is in good form. It's kind of a crapshoot up there. I don't want to spend as much money, but I think that because you go down there, Max Homa is there at 99, and you go, well, why not just save $100? I'm doing the old superstitious juju thing where Max just won and Xander hasn't really, I just feel like he's about to break out, because I told you earlier I was questioning him after he had to WD with the injury, and he came back firing on all cylinders. So X going to give it to you this week.
He has a T3 and a T13 since that withdrawal.
Yeah. So who do you like up top? Anybody?
Well, you seem to always go for the highest projected owners guy, because at almost 20%, Xander is by probably a clear 2-3% highest projected owned guy this week. But
that's also not where I'm giving a shit about leverage. I'm gonna go down low.
And I get why you're doing that and why a lot of other people are doing that, because at $10,000 compared to Rahm and McIlroy, who are obviously the two hottest golfers in golf right now. Amazing. Like it's anybody standing in their way.
It's fun to watch.
Rory's 10-8 and Rahm is 11. Look, I'm gonna play a few different lineups, so I'm definitely gonna be getting me a little bit of those guys. But when it comes to the lineup I'm gonna put out there today, I'm gonna take a bit of a shot with somebody here, and I'm gonna go with Tony Finau. I'm gonna go back. It's been a while since I've been on the Finau train, and I think it's time to go back there. Finished T9 at the Farmers, T16 at American Express, T7 at Century, and he won the Houston Open. So he himself is also on a bit of a run. So far it doesn't give me the exact date this was as of, but the last time his strokes gained total were calculated in January, he's gained 65.5 strokes on the field. That's outrageous.
Silly. That's just silly.
So he's playing great right now. He's a top 10 putter. He's ranks out well in all the stats. So I think I'm going to start my main lineup this week with Tony Finau at 10,100, and for me, the ownership also is a plus at only 14% ownership compared to all those other guys.
Look at you flexing your ownership. No, I don't hate it at all. Down in the 9K range, it's again this. I mean, this field. I mean, we mentioned it earlier. It's the first of the elevated series of events this year. It's a $20 million purse. Winner's going to take home 8. So you do look at it where the winners in live are only taking home 4. Or was it 8? Is that really the winner's share? Did I see that right? There's no way.
I didn't see it, so I'm following on you here.
I know you are, and I apologize but I want to before I get. I do know it's the 20 million, but check me on that. I want to say the winner's taking home something like 8. It's something that's just it's grossly stupid. Oh no, that was the Century Tournament of Champions. I think here they are taking home something more close like 4.
This should be more then.
Yeah, no, because I think it's more like 4, but still, anyways, elevated purse. But the field keeps going. It's deep. JT, Max Homa, Colin Morikawa, Patrick Cantlay. I'm Cantlay is the one that ranks out the highest for me in my model right there, but I'm going to drop down and save some money because Tom Kim, come on down. I think he is a star. And
yeah, Tom Kim's 6 for me this week too, so I'm there with you.
In his 23 campaign so far, going back to October, we got a win, T25, T11, T10, T5, 1 missed cut at the Sony after, T5 at the Century, and then a T6 at the American Express. Tom Kim he's it, man. I think he's the next standard bearer for whatever international it was Adam Scott for a long time, Gary Player before that. I think you got Tom Kim kind of flying that international flag for us.
Yeah, no, like I said, Tom Kim was right there. I had him 6th in my ranking, so I'm definitely a fan of that. And also in the 9K range, though. So you mentioned Homa, Morikawa, both also ranked out good for me in my models.
Yeah, me too.
Morikawa also super high owned, by the way, at 18%. Not that you care this week, but also ranking out pretty good this week at 9,200 is another Sanjay M week. Could be.
It could always be a Sungjae M week.
Exactly. Could always be. Look, he's got a T4 at the Farmers, and then he had a T18 at American Express. He did miss the cut at the Sony, but he had a T13 at the Century before that. So, but this is the type of course where I think it sets up well for Sungjae, who is a very methodical, precise player. I think he can get around this course, all right. And when we look at as this loads, we looked at his recent history here. 2021, he finished T17. 2019, he finished T7. 2020, he finished T34. So he's got very good, stable history here as well. So
all right, so we'll have a little M versus Kim showdown in the 9K range. We'll pay attention to that over the weekend. Dropping into the 8K, I mean, Jesus. Matt Fitzpatrick, I saw that wrong. I didn't realize he's at the bottom of 9K. I might flirt with Matty Fitz a little bit. That really was just kind of an oversight on my part. I still like my Tom Kim play, but if I need to flex $100, I wouldn't mind dropping down to take Matt Fitzpatrick. He doesn't rank out great for me. I think he's just another player that when the lights are on and there's a familiar course, he can turn it up. But in the 8K range, these are all Jordan Spieth. We love Sahith Theegala. Anytime Tyrrell is in town, I love Tyrrell Hatton. But Sammy Burns is going to probably get a look at me pretty hard. I like Ricky Fowler out of the Waste Management. Never sleep on Ricky Fowler in Scottsdale. Never. He can roll.
So that's true. He's kind of becoming the new not Gary Woodland. Charlie Hoffman here.
Yes.
No matter how bad Charlie Hoffman played, he always showed up and showed out for this tournament.
And I think just because Ricky's getting older, and that's what it was, right? It's like Chuck was getting older elsewhere, but no matter what, it's Scottsdale. And I think that's kind of there's something to be said there about Ricky here. But Sammy Burns will probably get some love from me. He's having a pretty solid year. T11 at the American Express, 32 Tournament of Champions, and then back in December, a 12th at the Hero World Challenge out of 18 players. But recency bias for me at the T11 at the American Express. I overlooked him. I remember specifically thinking and talking about Sam Burns and saying like, stay away until showed up. And I think Sam and I might have to have a little makeup talk, but hit me with your 8K so we can start talking value.
Yes, yeah. So the main guy. Let me scroll back up to it because I got a little antsy and scrolled down because I also got excited with the 7K range. The main guy I'm probably gonna be looking at to balance out my lineups in the 8K range is gonna be Shane Lowry at 8,200.
I
It's
love
been a
him
while.
too.
It's been a while since we've seen him on the PGA Tour. He's been playing the other tours. We haven't seen him on the PGA Tour since the CJ Cup. But before that, on PGA Tour, he had at least 5 straight made cuts. He finished T65 here in 2018, but then before that, T16, T6. But he hasn't played this tournament since 2018, so um, it's been more of a risk for me. But with some of the spots I've been spending money, I kind of need to find a guy either here or lower to balance it out. So there's probably gonna be plenty of lineups where I'm not gonna play him, but if I had to pick someone here in the 8K range, I like him at 8,200.
Once again, I don't hate it. This is just one of the. I mean, it's one of those fields. But Shane Lowry, not because of form, just because I just love Shane. Um,
Sure.
I kind of wish Andrew Beef Johnston would be back around, but that's neither here nor there.
Right?
So let's talk value. I think
Yeah,
there's.
let's
I
get
mean,
into it.
you go down like to a guy like Keith Mitchell coming off of a
He
near
played great, didn't he?
played great, and I love that he chirped Aaron Rodgers for his bullshit handicap.
Well, and
Uh,
we've been waiting for like that Keith Mitchell performance too. Like we've
yeah,
been talking about, I feel like we've been talking
I thought
about
it
it
was going to
for a
come out in
few years
Honda like
now.
it usually does.
Yeah, but so it was nice to see him show up.
But I mean, you just start going down the line, even down there at Davis Thompson, 7,100. We saw a little flash of brilliance from the former Georgia Bulldog earlier this year. But around Keith Mitchell, you got JT Poston, who's a birdie machine. If he gets hot, look out. Gary Woodland, who's done his thing out in the desert
Hmm.
before. JJ Spawn, who was on a heater earlier this week. There's a ton of good
Yeah.
talent right around there. But I'm looking at my numbers, and just because they ranked freaking high on my model, I probably am going to go with me some Brendan Steele. I know
Oh,
that sounds.
so no, you know what? So me and Brendan Steele
Do you have
have
a history?
a history in that he will. So Brendan Steele was in my first ever uh, golf DFS lineup that I ever put together and played. And at the time, I knew very little about him, and I got him for like somewhere low sevens, maybe in the 6K range at the time. Um, and he showed up and finished like top 10 for me, and I was like hooked on Brendan Steele for the rest of that season. And then he slowly kept disappointing me, so I got off of him. But I will always remember Brendan Steele. But it's been a while since we've heard his name.
Well, exactly, and so that's why he might get a look, he might get some love, but Tom Hoagie is absolutely gonna get a look from me
Yeah,
because at
I'm glad you said Tom
7,500,
Hogue because he was the main guy that I can't look past in this range of 7,500.
no
And so
opportunities gained. He's
7,500
third.
and projected 9% owned. He ranks out number one in my model.
Yeah, he's number one in my model as well. Strokes gained approach, putting, he's 13th at this place,
Yeah,
and opportunities gained, he's third. Russell
perfect.
Henley is second in my model. And so I've got Brendan Steele, Russell Henley, and Tom Hoagie in that 7K range, which is nice when you've got enough people down there where I'm not going to play them all. I might play them all, who knows? But
Sure.
where you can start messing around. And just because I wanted to toss, there's not a ton in 6K that I want to sniff, but somebody who just ranked high in my model, so I might actually just give it a flyer, is ranking out at sixth in my model is Davis Riley. Come on down. Because
Yeah.
in what I'm looking at, which again is approach, putting and opportunities gained, he's 16, 20, and 20. So I mean, for 6,800, and I don't know. I think I'm very nervous. I'm very nervous to pull the trigger on Davis Riley, but it's also one of those names that just randomly has been floating up there, kind of like Cameron Young started out as one of those just
Sure.
names that was
He just
floating
kind of
around.
hung around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so the guy that ranked out highest for me in the 6K range that I haven't made up my mind. I think I'm gonna have to play him a little bit here, but it's Sam Ryder for me. At only
Yeah, I mean,
68.
especially somebody who had a performance like he did the other week.
Yep,
Some people might shy away thinking, "Ah, damaged goods." These guys aren't like that anymore. They're not as fragile.
yeah.
Like they have a letdown, and they have mental coaches, and they've been trained to instead get all fucked up over it and go, "See how good I am? Like I was almost
Well,
there.
yeah.
Like I didn't have." And then they say something like, "I didn't have my A game, and I almost won." And it's like, I'm so
Well, and
sick of
here's
hearing Rory doesn't have his A game.
And here's the thing with Sam Ryder too. I'm actually sliding him right into my lineup against you right now. But here's the thing with Sam Ryder too. When you're paying anybody in the 6K range, you just want someone who's going to make the cut. He's made the cut 4 years in a row at this tournament, and not only made the cut, but when he's in those same 4 years, actually his final finishing positions 3 of the 4 years he's finished 50th or worse, but still he's made the cut. But last year he did finish T23, so but at 6,800, especially coming off that look, he's got a weird kind of form going on right now because, like you said, you called out the T4 at the Farmers. He also had a T8 at the Worldwide Technology, but then he had 3 missed cuts in between those 2 top 10 finishes. So it's really going to depend on which guy we get. But I think because he's done well at this course in the past, the odds are higher that we're going to get a good form Sam Ryder. And like I said, the money I'm spending elsewhere, I'm going to take a chance on him.
Well, and you know what? And that's because he's due. You know what?
Yep.
If we were fading him this week, we'd say he's still in the shitter, and that's the Davis that's going to show up. It's 3.6 million is the winner's cut this week, so not quite 4. But
Okay.
3.6 million is going to be the winner's cut on these elevated events. And meanwhile, the winner over at Live is taking home 4. And they're guaranteed, I think they're guaranteed 750 no matter what over there. And here, I think they did make it so even players at the end of the year are guaranteed a minimum salary if they don't make that in their earnings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
That's one of the adjustments that either is implemented this year or it's coming up, where I want to say it's like $250,000, or maybe it might be more than that now. Who knows? But they are guaranteed I think it's $250,000, or a certain kind of like league minimum. If you get your tour card, then yes, we recognize that it's probably going to X, Y, or Z. There's some nuance in there, but yeah, the game's changing.
Real fast, just because. Jesus, sorry, I got someone entered the room next to me today, and they have been unbelievably loud. And they
that sounded like they entered your room.
Absolutely slammed the door out in the hallway. So sorry.
That scared me, and I'm not in Brooklyn.
It scared me. Sorry. So no, I'm so.
So is your cough.
Is there anybody else in the 6K you want to?
No,
you still want to talk about? There isn't for me, and I'm at the point now where I want to kind of cycle back up to find the guys that I'm going to now. I have 2 spots left in my lineup. I'm going to try to fill out with.
I don't give a shit about you filling out your lineup. I want to know if you're going to divot or pivot into night golf. I've been seeing this up here everywhere.
Thank you for reminding me.
I've seen some articles and I've experienced it myself. And I'll tell you right now, it's a beaver pelt for me. I'm divoting. I'm diving right into night golf. I want it 24 hours a day. I want it in my veins. I want it under the lights. I want it under the sun. I don't know why it's not around more.
And let's be clear, we're not talking the glow night golf where people are using like glow in the dark balls. No,
we're
talking
annoying.
Exactly, that stuff's annoying. No, we're talking about golf courses having lights so that you can just play under the. I mean, they do it with driving range. Like it works fine. Like you can see the ball fine. Like who cares about the aesthetic? Just throw some lights up and let us play. We're not talking about doing this on like private courses and shit. We're talking about doing this on like your local munis and whatever. Like let's just let us play at night.
Shit. If I'm a member at one of those private courses, I might be bugging people to say, like, can we look into some lights? Like so they like TV, they do it for sporting events all the time. Those like 4x4 looking things with the crane goes up and you got floodlights everywhere. They did it for some of these nighttime golf matches that we see, like the match with Tiger and Phil, or even way back in the day, the first time they did it. And it was at like, I want to say Sherwood Forest. Or was the place, and it was like Tiger versus David Duval or something like that. It was the showdown at Sherwood. It was really cool. I remember it. But the last few holes, and like the last 4 or 5 holes were quote unquote under the lights, and it was dope. So I'm with it. I think it's a cool idea because then sooner or later somebody at Winged Foot's going to say, why don't we do a celebrity charity fundraiser to blah blah blah? Although the members at Winged Foot wouldn't go for it. You're right. The private courses wouldn't dive into this, but more lights at the munis. I got a question for you. Who's going to win the Super Bowl this weekend?
I think it's
if you think it's going to be the Eagles.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be. They've just been the best team start to finish this year, minus when they obviously lost hurts for a little while there, but still, even then, they weathered that storm quite well. So, do I think the Chiefs can expose their defense a little bit? Sure, of course they can. They have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they can make anything happen. Do I think it's going to be a good game and a fairly high scoring game? I do. So
That's what I'm
I think
hoping for too. I don't
I
want a
think we're
13-9 affair.
we're not going to get that. There's going to be some points scored. I'm taking the over. I don't know what it's at now, but I know when the props first came out, I was slamming the over. So
You got any other prop bets that you're either eyeing yourself or you just find interesting? What are some of your favorite prop bets for the Super Bowls?
I still have to look at them. I got to prep for the shows this weekend still, so I still have to look at all the bets.
I just meant in general, like I don't fuck around with like coin toss or
I'll do those fun ones like with my friends at the Super Bowl party where you fill out the sheet of all those different
squares.
random like those.
Yeah,
I mean like those random stupid prop bets you're talking about where you just like fill like you list them all out and you pick them all and then you just at the end of the night you just see which friend had the most and you put like $10 on it or something and winner takes all kind of thing. It's just fun shit like that.
I used to be in it for the commercials, and then last year in crypto and like things that I don't give a shit.
Changed now, right?
The scuttlebutt is alcohol is back. That's what I'm seeing. It's gonna be a boozy bowl game. We're gonna see some which makes sense too. Matthew McConaughey and Wild Turkey was a big partnership. John Rahm's out there slinging some liquor online. He's another one of the fascinating guys. But back to the Super Bowl. I will be cliche and say I'm in it for the commercials. But I also love watching the game. And I think the eye that I'm keeping on is Pat Mahomes early. I heard JJ Watt describing him to somebody saying, why is he so difficult? What makes it? He said, because when he starts dropping back, there's certain quarterbacks that they know you get them running backwards a little bit. And at a certain point, they just can't make a throw. Like they don't have the arm for it. So they're going to just throw it away. You're either going to get a sack or you're going to throw it away. He goes, Patrick Mahomes has the arm. He's like, he can keep going backwards. He goes, and on the other end of it, like you were pointing out, he goes, he's got Travis Kelce. He's like, and the two of them are in this.
It's almost machine.
It's almost, and again, it's almost like, for years it was Aaron Rodgers he did better when the play fell apart or he was forced to roll out. And that's kind of the way he was describing Patrick Mahomes is like, well, if their offense is clicking, then you're just trying to keep up. And if you think you've got him on the run, then you're even worse trouble because you've got him scrambling back there. And then you got Kelce out there doing, whatever scrambling drills he's doing to get open, and they just get open. He goes, it's mind numbing. So I agree. They're going to get exposed, but I think Jalen Hurts will run a lot. And I think that he's going to, I'd say 2, if not 3 on the ground from Jalen Hurts.
Nice. There we go.
Nice.
Real fast before it's a lot of rushing touchdowns for a quarterback. So we'll definitely see. It's a hot take. But before we get off here too, are you divoting or pivoting on the Rihanna halftime show?
Pivot. Couldn't care less. I do. I've been listening to a lot of Umbrella Rihanna recently. It's been a song that's been on my playlist a lot. And I think it's because I saw whatever the fuck his name is. One of the, what the hell is the short guy who played Spider-Man? Tom
Holland.
Thank you. He did a lip sync battle dance to that song in front of his girlfriend at the time. And I saw the video the other day and the guy can dance. And then the song's just been stuck in my head.
Tom Holland's one of my favorite actors. He's just so
now
funny
that I said
innocent and silly right now. I just love it.
Oh, I love him. Did you see the video of him chirping Patty Harrington saying, like, if I take Driver off the deck and knock this on the green, you're going to put me on the Ryder Cup team? And he's like,
I didn't see that. No.
Oh, you got to look it up. It's the cute. It's like, literally about a year ago, they're playing at some celebrity event. And he just says, he's like, if I put these like Driver off the deck, and Patty's like, yeah, for sure. Whatever. I'll give you. It's like 256 out and he almost hits it on the green. And kid's got a swing. He can hit the ball and you can tell he's confident. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was Driver off the deck, 250 out, and you got Captain Harrington or Haddington or Paddington, whatever the fuck Patrick Harrington's last name is, standing right next to you. No, it's a great video. You got to check it out. Check out the Waste Management this weekend. Check out the Super Bowl show on whenever it is with Andrew. I know I'll be in the peanut gallery lobbing shit from the cheap seats in the comments section. So look for me there.
Like I said, you'll see me Sunday morning on the Fantasy Sports Corp show, but then also leading up to the Super Bowl at 4:00 on Sunday, I will be on the Belly Up Sports Super Bowl extravaganza, if you will, as well. So make sure to check both of those out. 8 a.m. for one, and then Belly Up is at 4.
And kickoff shortly after that.
Kickoff is like 6:30, I think.
Fuck.
That.
Thank God it's early enough though, because
Yeah.
old man River needs some sleep. And last but certainly not least, whether you go studs and duds or you try to go middle of the road, you really can't go wrong this week. Just make sure you pay attention to just pay attention to your numbers. Have a plan, stick to it, and remember, it's a fucking crapshoot out there.
Yeah, and looks like it's 9:15 is when lineups lock on DraftKings, so make sure you get your lineups in before 9:15 on Thursday morning. Little housekeeping note here, because I am traveling back home from work tomorrow, I will probably not be getting the podcast up on your podcast stations until the evening, probably around like 6:37ish. So make sure to check in on your Spotify's, your iHeartRadios, your Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you consume our podcast. If you're listening now and you want to give us another listen, I'll put out a note as well on Twitter. But yeah, it'll be up tomorrow evening instead of in the morning like it usually is. But that will wrap it for us here today. Bud from Wichtown, me from remote in Brooklyn. We will be back next Tuesday, as always, back to our 8 o'clock time next Tuesday. For a recap of the Waste Management, and hopefully we get some fun drunk leaning walking videos to break down as well, because that's always one of the best parts about this tournament. So there's going to be some great ones. But like I said, that's going to do it. Have a great night, everyone, and we will see you next week.